Hello, and thanks for joining me at IT Home Lab Online. In this video, we're going to create an Active Directory domain using Windows Server 2025 Core hosted on a Proxmox virtual machine. Running Server Core rather than the full desktop experience keeps our resource footprint nice and small, which is ideal for home lab environments. And it's also a great skill to have, as many enterprise environments prefer core installations for security and performance reasons. We'll then join a Windows 11 laptop to the new domain and install a Remote Server Administration Tools, or RSAT, so we can manage our domain controller from a familiar GUI without ever needing one on the server itself. Now, let's get started. For this video, I'm using my Proxmox server, which I've named Proxmox 01, and a Windows 11 laptop, which we'll be joining to the domain toward the end of the video. Our new domain will be called ithomelab.local, and our domain controller will be named HLDC01, which stands for Home Lab Domain Controller Number 1. I've named it this way deliberately, so if you want, you can add additional domain controllers later for replication and redundancy. You can simply add the numbering system HLDC02, 03, etc. We'll create a new domain administrator account named Neo, and for security reasons, we'll be disabling the default built-in administrator account once Neo is set up and confirmed working. First things first, let's log on to our Proxmox web interface by navigating to Proxmox IP address on port 8006 in your browser. Click Create VM, and we'll give it a name. Now you can download the ISO file directly from Microsoft sites. I'll leave a link below. I've already downloaded it and uploaded it to my Proxmox server. Change our network environment to Windows, and we'll leave it on version 11, 2022-2025. For this setting, we'll leave it set to Q35, and it needs to be UEFI. We'll need to select storage. By default, it only creates one UEFI storage, so we'll use that. And we'll use TPM on version 2, which is what Server 2025 requires. For the disks, we'll create a single disk. It doesn't need to be extra large, but I do want to give a little bit of headroom just so that we can install Windows updates and that sort of thing. We'll also change the disk type just for compatibility purposes. CPU, I'm only going to run 2 cores for this. It's a server core installation, so it doesn't require a lot of resources. And for memory, I'm going to leave the memory set to 4 gig, which should be plenty for a core installation. This is all adjustable when you're running on a virtual machine, but for now, that's all we should require. For the network interface, I'm going to create it as a bridge network. Again, I'm just going to change my network interface just for compatibility purposes and make sure that out of the box, the server installation has drivers that will run. And we can confirm. Now this is very straightforward. We'll select the new virtual machine that's been created and click on the Start button. Give that a moment to start. And then we'll click on the console. And we missed the opportunity to boot, so we will just hit a key and select the DVD-ROM. This time I'll hit a key before it boots. select your language. I'm going to leave it on the default language, but I'm going to change my time and currency to Australia, which is the region I'm in. Leave the default keyboard as standard US. Agree to the terms and click Next. Now here I'm going to select the Windows Server 2025 Standard, not the desktop experience. So the top option there is for a core installation. And click Next. Accept the license terms. And it's detected our disk, so we'll select Next. And click Install. Now this might take a little while to install, so I will fast forward this portion of the video. Okay, now it's doing a restart. Again, this section will take a little while, so I'll fast forward through this section. Okay, so now we need to set an administrator password. This is not critical, but you do need to remember it for now. We're going to delete this account later, but we'll set one. Use the tab key to switch between. And password has been changed. Okay, now this is just a query about sending data off to Microsoft. I'm just going to send the required. I'm not going to send the optional. This is a home lab setup, so we don't need to send off all that information. Okay, so next we're going to rename the machine, so we'll drop to a PowerShell prompt. And from here, we'll do a rename computer. The new name will be HLDC01, and then we'll get it to do a restart. Okay, so now we need to send a Control-Alt-Delete to unlock it. To do this in Proxmox, there's a little panel here on the side. Click on the extra keys, and then Control-Alt-Delete down the bottom here. Enter in the password that we just set. And we can hide that panel again. Okay, so now we need to set an IP address. There's a couple of ways to do this. You can do it through the network settings by pressing 8, and that will show you that it's currently picked up a DHCP IP address from my network, but I'm going to change that because I want to have a static IP address for my domain controller. So I'll set network adapter address as static. My new address will be 10.0.2.10. I like to group together my different types of resources on my network. So I like to leave the first 9 IP addresses available for hardware devices, firewalls, modems, that sort of thing. And I like to start my domain controllers at around 10. I won't add anything else until at least 20. So then I've got a full 10 IP addresses that I can use for domain controllers. Not that I'll ever need that many, but for my home lab, that will be fine. I'm going to change my subnet mask because on my network I use a 252 subnet mask, which basically gives me 1024 IP addresses rather than standard 256. My default gateway, I'll point to my firewall. And hit enter. Now I need to add some DNS addresses. So I'm going to select option 2. Now my first DNS I'm going to set up here. I'm actually going to point to this machine itself because later on I'm going to set this as the DNS server. So I'll set it to the same IP address. Then my second one, I'm going to point to the internet. And third one, I'll also point to the internet. Okay, so that's all I need to do for my network settings. So press enter to cancel. Now what I want to do is install the AD domain services. So I'm going to drop back to my command prompt again. I'm going to do install Windows feature. And I'm going to do AD domain services. I'm going to do DNS, as I mentioned earlier, and I'm going to include management tools. If I can type correctly. And hit enter. Okay, so that says success was true. So now I'm going to create my forest. And I will set the domain name for that forest as ithomelab.local. Set domain net class name to ithomelab. Install DNS and force that. Okay, so now I need to enter the restore mode or safe mode administrator password. So I'll create a new one for that. And then confirm it. And again, this can take a little while, so I might fast forward through this section of the video as well. Okay, now it requires a restart once those services have installed. And it will restart automatically. Okay, so we're now back to the reboot screen. Now our domain administrator password is this is the same account that we set up for the machine earlier. Okay, so now we want to create our new domain administrator account. So we'll drop to a command line and we'll do a new AD user named Neo. We'll prompt from the host, and this will secure the string. This will enable the account. This is our domain administrator account, so we want to make sure that the password never expires on that. Create a new domain admin password. Okay, so next I'm going to create just a standard user password, and the reason for this is that I don't like to log on to my workstations using my domain account. So we'll create Trinity. With a different complex password. Okay, so now we need to update Neo's credentials. We're going to make him a domain admin. We're also going to make him an enterprise admin and a schema admin. And this is because we're going to disable the administrator account. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a restart. And I just want to make sure that I can log in with Neo's account. before I disable the administrator account. And by doing it this way, I'm also testing Neo's credentials, because only a domain administrator can disable another domain administrator's account. Now here we want to switch to Neo, so we'll need to hit the escape key, and I'm going to do that using the extra keys here, and press it again. Okay, so now I can select other user, and I'm going to use Neo and the password that I set. And again, we need to determine what data we're going to send to Microsoft. I'm only going to send required. Okay, so we know now that Neo's account was created successfully, and I've been able to log in with his password. So now I'm going to test his credentials. Okay, now that's confirmed that his credentials are set correctly as a domain administrator. Okay, so now we're going to head over to our Windows 11 laptop and join it to the IT Home Lab .local domain. I've actually created a virtual machine to do that, so I will spin that up by going back to my console for Proxmox, and I've actually already got it started, so I will open the console there. Sign into it with its non-domain account. Okay, so now I just need to make sure that I've got my DNS settings set up to point to the new domain controller. So what I will have to do is go into the network settings, select Ethernet. Now you'll see here that the IP address is set using DHCP, and DNS is also set using DHCP. Now I'm going to need to change the DNS server to manual. I only need IPv4, and I'm going to set that to my new domain controller. I'll set the alternative to point to the internet. Okay. So now the next step is to go into the About settings. And I want to select domain or workgroup. And I want to go in and change to a domain. And I want to change that to ithomelab.local. Okay, now that's failed, and I've just discovered that I had an incorrect, well, I had an IP conflict on my network. So I'd already used 10.0.2.10. So I've gone in and changed my domain controller's IP address to 10.0.2.9. So what I'll need to do now is I can leave that window open, but I will go back to my network settings, Ethernet, and here where I have my DNS server, I will change that and just change that to a 9. Okay, so now we should be able to drop back to here and click OK. Now we're being prompted for a username and password. So here we need to use IT Home Lab, and we're going to use Neo to join to the domain. And we've joined successfully. So we'll say OK, OK, and it will need to do a restart. So we'll say yes. Okay, so now we've restarted. What we need to do is log in as another user. Now, I mentioned earlier that I don't like logging into workstations using domain accounts, but in this instance, I'm going to break my rule so that I can install the RSAT tools for the first time. So to do that, I'm going to go to Start, Settings, System, and I'll scroll down to the Optional Features, View Features, have to obey the user acceptance, so say yes, see available features, and I'm going to do a search for RSAT. Now I'm just going to install the Active Directory Domain Services and Lightweight Directory Services tool for now. You can obviously use this machine to manage other remote services using similar methods just by installing the appropriate tool, whether it be DHCP, DNS, WSUS, can all be managed remotely. Okay, so now that says that it's been added successfully. We'll close that. And if we click on the Start button, type in Active Directory, we can see Active Directory Users and Computers is now available. And so we can click on that, and there we have access to our domain controller. So you can see that's the computer that we've added, and under users we'll see that we've got Neo and Trinity, the two user accounts that we created earlier. Now just a little tip, what I like to do just to try and keep my domain nice and neat is I'll create a new organizational unit just at the top level, unprotect it, and I'll give it a name, the name of my organization. It can match my domain name, but I just like to have that at my top level. Then under that, what I'll do is I'll create organizational units to sort my users and devices. So I'll create one called devices and another one called users. And then under there, I'll have separate OUs as well to sort them out. So under devices, for example, I'd have an organizational unit called servers. I might break it down to desktops and workstations. Laptops and desktops or workstations. Just for example, if I'm using WSUS and I want to have different rules apply to mobile devices and that sort of thing, or different group policies to apply down under my users, I would tend to have an organizational unit called elevated accounts. And in there, I would put in my server admins, my workstation admins, and my domain admins. And I would also have a group called staff, or in this case, standard users. You could certainly drill that down as well. So if you use staff, you could have finance, IT, sales, break that down into OUs as well. Just giving you that flexibility to move or have different policies for different groups. So now I'm going to come in and I'm going to move my Neo account, because Neo is a domain admin. So he'll go in under IT Home Lab users elevated accounts. And Trinity, who's a standard user, I'll move under IT Home Lab users standard accounts. And then I'll move my computer into here. And it's quite important to move your computers out of the computer container, because that's a container. It doesn't have group policies applied to it. But now if I go down here, you can see the different devices and users are being moved around. So that's it for this video. If you found it helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe, and hit the notification bell, and you'll see more videos just like this one. And I'll see you in the next one.